American bases are targets. A leader from one of the most powerful Iran-backed militias warning they'll strike U.S. bases if Trump enters the United States into the war. The threat, quote, American bases throughout the region will become akin to duck hunting grounds. Duck hunting grounds, he says. Now, of course, the U.S. has bases across the Middle East, up to 40,000 troops there. Just show some of those bases on the map. You see them heavily concentrated there along the Gulf. The militia also threatening to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, that is the most critical choke point for the flow of oil in the world. 21 million barrels of oil go through it every day, 20% of the world's supply. Now, that strait has never been shut before, even in times of war. And while it is obviously, therefore, very hard to imagine it happening, it's worth just remembering that a few weeks ago, nobody would have imagined that we'd be talking about what we've been talking about for the past few days. The world is on a precipice of history. Trump, though, clearly wants an off-ramp tonight. Here's the White House press secretary relaying a message from Trump during the press briefing today.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
It was a direct quote she had from the president. Now, what she said there, Caroline Levitt, was 2 weeks. And it is very important when he talks about 2 weeks and you're counting out the days to understand what that really means. So we thought it was worth pointing out this. Trump uses that exact time frame for many things.
I'll have a statement over the next 2 weeks on minimum wage.
We cut the cost of eggs in half in just a period of 2 weeks.
You trust President Putin? You know, in about 2 weeks.
I'll announce it over the next 2 weeks. I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know in about 2 weeks, within 2 weeks.
Okay, some of those things happened in 2 weeks and most didn't, but the point is he likes the time frame, okay? So 2 weeks is, well, whatever he wants it to be. In this case, though, when we talk about weeks, the word matters. Just yesterday, Trump said that before Israel attacked Iran's nuclear sites, Iran was weeks away from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one.
Now, maybe he was getting that few weeks from Prime Minister Netanyahu. But since they're using that and saying, oh, weeks away from a nuclear weapon, it is important to point out that this timeline of Iran being a few weeks away from a nuclear bomb is in direct contradiction to CNN's reporting. According to U.S. intelligence assessments, Iran is 3 years away from being able to produce a nuclear weapon if they wanted to. It is also in direct contradiction to Trump's own director of intelligence, who says this.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
I mean, that's blunt. That was in March. So the facts on Iran getting a nuclear weapon do not bear out the claim at the heart of what has put the world on the verge of world war. Earlier this week, though, Trump acted as if he did not care about the facts when he said this about his director of national intelligence, right? She said they're not developing a weapon and the supreme leader in Iran is not given the green light since suspending the weapons program more than 20 years ago. So what did Trump say to that?
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one.
Again, the core of this entire thing, war and peace for the world and for America, comes down to whether that is true or not. And maybe tonight, in giving Iran 2 weeks to talk, Trump may be showing that he does not want a repeat of a massive American war for no reason.
Facing clear evidence of peril, we cannot wait for the final proof, the smoking gun that could come in the form of a mushroom cloud.
Kristen Holmes is out front live outside the White House. And Kristen, I know you're talking to your sources there. What is the thinking inside the White House right now on what's next?
Yeah, and Aaron, I do want to point to one thing there because you just played that clip of George W. Bush. One of the things that Donald Trump has spoken about a lot was that we never should have gone into that war. And he always says that people knew that there were no weapons of mass destruction. He has campaigned on that point. So it is interesting now to see this comparison between the two. Caroline Levitt today saying that Iran had the components to make a nuclear weapon and that it just hadn't done it yet. And that is what they were looking at in terms of course, as you say, U.S. intelligence that we saw and even testimony back in March saying that they were not just minutes away from that decision. Now, when it comes to this 2 weeks, there's still a lot of questions. Obviously, what does it actually mean? Is there a decision that's going to be made in between the next 2 weeks? And if Iran doesn't come to the table in 2 weeks, does that mean automatically the United States is going to be involved? And what exactly will that look like? Because we are still at a place right now where Donald Trump is saying that Iran can have no nuclear weapon. They are not going to be able to enrich uranium. And Iran doesn't seem to want to change any of what they're doing and say, we're not going to come to the table unless you're going to let us do this. So why 2 weeks? Well, I asked specifically Carolyn Levitt, what are you seeing here? Because remember, we, the United States, already gave Iran 60 days. So what's with the 2-week extension? She said that they believe that Iran is now weaker, that because of the missile strikes that they're going to come to the table because their infrastructure is not the same. So they're going to have to make some concessions. Now, of course, whether or not that's actually true and whether or not it's going to happen is something we're going to watch play out for 2 weeks, as you said. But until then, we do know that the U.S. envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, was meeting with his UK counterpart, who is going to be going over to Geneva to have a conversation with his Iranian counterpart, which Witkoff will not be a part of. We'll see if that goes anywhere into playing into this 2-week time frame.
Kristen, thank you so much. And I want to go now to the ground in Iran, where we have extremely rare access. Our team is the first team of Western journalists to enter Iran since this latest conflict with Israel began. And our Fred Pleitgen tonight is out front in Tehran.
As Iran and Israel continue to trade salvos of bombs and missiles, in Tehran, the cleanup is in full swing in residential areas that were struck. We went to several impact sites, buildings partially collapsed in some, completely destroyed in others.
The authorities here say this building was flattened in the first wave of strikes against targets in Tehran, but in other parts of Iran as well. And they say in this site alone, 6 people were killed and 2 bodies are still buried under the rubble.
As tensions between Iran and Israel continue to escalate, many residents have left Tehran. The streets empty, some shops closed, but defiance remains. Billboards across Tehran showing those killed by the Israeli aerial attack and vowing revenge. This one addressing Israel directly, saying, "You have started it, we will finish it," as Tehran's leadership says it won't back down. If the Zionist regime's hostile actions persist, our answers will be even more decisive and severe, the president says. And Iran saying the Israelis are also targeting civilian installations, taking us to the state TV channel IRIB, recently bombed by 2 Israeli airstrikes. An anchor had been reading the news as the building was hit. This is that studio now, burned out with only a skeleton of the charred anchor desk left. Authorities say 3 state TV employees were killed here.
You can see how much heat must have been emitted by the impact and by the explosion. The phones that they had here are molten. Here also, the keys molten, this screen, and there's actually someone's lunch still at their desk, standing here, which probably they would have been wanting to eat until they had to evacuate the building. You can see there's a spoon here that's also been melted away by this explosion. And the devastation here is massive at the Iranian state broadcaster.
Iran's leadership vows to persevere, saying it will continue to target Israel if the Israeli aerial campaign doesn't stop. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Tehran.